Okay, so yeah, if you could just give me an
Mhm.
introduction of your company and how things were so far.
Right, right. So with regards to hospitality industry, I've been running a multiple company, 45 rooms hotel property in Rameshwaram called Jiwan Residency, and there is another one venture which I've been running. It's called 808, where we do we're building up the scene for live performing arts across Madurai. So it's somewhere or other connected with the services industry. Uh, so these are the two companies we run. Rameshwaram, we've been running operations for about 5 years now, and this pandemic has definitely had a good effect across the industry and in pilgrim towns as well. So that is pretty much about my two companies we run. And 808, it's a 2-year-old venture where we've been trying to bring up live performing arts in Madurai. It's a dying culture. You see, Madurai is my hometown where I reside and have been brought up. We've never had the opportunity to go watch theater acts or dramas or comedians perform across. We used to travel because we had the privilege across to other metros and get an opportunity to witness these. So we've been trying to build up a scene across here where we bring in artists from different cities to come perform for our set of audience here. So both have come to a standstill, and I recover. Our industry is one which will recover at the end, the last one after the luxury goods and other industries starting to recover. And but exceptionally, we've got different ideas. We've been brainstorming and thinking of how we can take things ahead. So, would you like to bring format it according to the questions you have?
Sure, yeah, we will definitely get into
That will
that.
back on if we keep talking.
So yeah, the initial question would be if you had any special plans for this year or this season.
Mhm. So yeah. So what were your plans with this year and season? That is the second question
Mhm.
exactly. So with the hotel, we had already actually started our renovation starting early March. So for another 45 to 60 days, we had planned to use this lean period to our benefit, that we could start renovating, painting, carpentry, and all the other works across the hotel. So we're not feeling the crunch as such personally as an individual, but this is definitely an hazardous situation which we all are facing as an industry collectively. And starting up ahead, our season usually starts in the summer, uh,
Mhm.
for the second quarter of the year. So we were preparing for it, and we see that there is going to be a huge fallback this year. And only post Diwali, as in the last quarter, once people start believing in traveling back again and feel safe to travel and understand the basic that the virus is definitely going to visit you and me as an individual, we all have to go through it
Yeah.
and handle the situation and get over it. We will eventually develop communal immunity and things will fall in place. So plans for this year was introducing new products, as in we started putting up small art galleries across the property where people could pick up art when they come in, and we're trying to promote the local artists in the surrounding regions, as in the south of India, like the Tanjore painting from Karaikudi. And different we were actually working on another project where we're getting a series of photographs of Bharatanatyam dance.
Oh,
So
wow.
think so we're trying to do different corners of the hotel. Well, yes, up ahead, professionally at the workspace, as I told you, this is going to be a lean period, and up ahead, after this lean period starts and then once we recover, considering we are a pilgrimage, Rameshwaram, our guest profile is very different from a regular hotel or a regular town. So we shall be able to recover a little bit earlier than other cities do. And we cannot anticipate what is going to happen, and the regular metrics, as in the competition, the rise of inventory and different services. So now we're working on curating to become a better hotel, a healthier place to work. We always had all this on the plans, and we parallelly ran programs to keep that, keep improvising on that. But now we have potential time for all of us to work on ourselves, and then the product eventually, once things start flowing in place. Yes. Should
That's
be.
wonderful.
Does that
Um,
answer?
so you said you started renovations in March. So was that planned beforehand, or did you go with it? Uh,
No, that was scheduled. So luckily, we had the labors and all even before the lockdown. The rightful contractors, we already subcontracted to the corresponding vendors. So we already had the work started, and
mhm.
luckily. we're halfway through it, but we're not having the rightful materials right now to continue the work.
Right.
So we are trying to get the materials sourced and made them available in Rameshwaram, because everything is sourced from Chennai or Madurai. Considering the geography, we are put up in an island in Rameshwaram, and there's no healthcare, there's no basic, in any kind of utilities and services in Rameshwaram has to be sourced from other cities, including the vegetables, groceries, or any other perishables which are used in a property or in a general household. So the work is halfway through. The labor is still in there. They are continuing work and doing things at their purview with their amount of tools they have. So it was already pre-planned and pre-budgeted. It wasn't started after this. I think
Okay.
it's not possible. But yeah, considering the lockdown, we cannot get the the man force required, the kind of labor required. I mean the materials required, planning and monitoring, getting rightful supervisors to manage the work. So we have all our existing, like the housekeeper and the general manager is involved in getting all these tasks organized. They are overlooking the operation in person. Whereas if the hotel was operational, we would have to do it phase wise. We have to look at the guests as well and the operations and post that the renovation. Now the entire team who is available in house at the hotel, they're looking after it. So the efficiency and quality is better. We finished way ahead of the timeline we had planned earlier. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So in terms of well, COVID-19, when you heard about the outbreak for the first time, how was your initial
Mhm.
reaction to it?
So listen, I've been very logical about how things work. It is definitely when WHO declared it to be a pandemic, and when we started hearing more news and the media started reporting it, it was obvious that the hype is for real and it's going to hit us all very soon. So we were prepared. We eventually started looking at and how we're going to cut down on our courses and on our costs and other things. As in our training program where we have industrial trainees from different colleges working, it was coming eventually to an end by March end. So we had the opportunity to inform them, listen, that there might be a scenario where you'll have troubles later. So eventually, depending on the kind of we reduced on the contracted labors in terms of security, in terms of the trainees. So we started preparing on it. We started working on the budgets and making sure that everything is available to us at the moment required. We not so that we don't panic later on, because usually when there is a panic, everyone does try using their own resources and networks to get the needful done, but that is not the right approach. So, and to be honest, talking personally about the COVID-19 coronavirus, it is something, as I told you earlier as well, there are several, just imagine, there are several other diseases killing people across the world. There are several other accidents still happening. People are not stopped kind of dying from other diseases or problems which they were earlier. So the general public is unusually panicking, and they're putting themselves to trouble for no reason. They have to understand that a prototype of the vaccine will take at least another 16-18 months, and for them to be available across all the countries in rightful quantities with the rightful procedure will take another couple of months. So we have to understand that we only can limit the spread until then, and we can have prepare ourselves mentally and physically until we reach that zenith and that position where we're able to start eradicating it. Right now we're just escaping from it. We don't have any solution from fighting against it. We're learning every day about the virus, how to contain. So right now, I've been working with a few organizations across where we're trying to set up disinfection plants and, as you know, tunnels across the public stations, as in the bus stand and the railway station, so that we start building the confidence among tourists that, listen, the town is prepared, it is safe to travel, and even if whatsoever comes ever, if there is going to be a worst case scenario, we shall be able to handle it. So it should primarily be looking at controlling it, controlling the disease across towns, especially like towns like Rameshwaram. We have no healthcare facilities at all. There's only, like, there's one ophthalmologist and a general physician available in Rameshwaram, literally for the entire town with a population of about 20,000. People have to travel up to 60 kilometers to get basic of healthcare. Once such an issue comes in and once such a spread comes across, it will be really troublesome to handle the public. So it is our duty starts initially to start training and sensitizing our own labor, our own workforce, our vendors, our suppliers. Eventually working with the local authorities to do campaigns across the town, then preparing the town to welcome the tourist. It's not just the hotel being prepared and sanitized. It also includes every other person in the circuit. It might be a cab vendor, it might be a railway station, it can be as basic as a rickshaw or a cab, or rail. We have the what do you call, the temples and other things. The tourist landings across the city needs to be taken care of. And I think most of us have not even started thinking in those directions. Rather, we're thinking upon, when I spoke to my friends and people in the circles, they're like, how are we going to manage the salaries? The revenue has fallen down, and basic things which is obvious to happen. The bubble was supposed to break someday or other. It might be a natural pandemic or a war, or any other personal situation affecting a particular region. So we need to start growing ourselves and thinking from the thoughts at where we're positioning ourselves. Right now, it's not the moment for politics or looking at business optimization or maximizing our revenues. It's the time to consider other things which are actually basics, like the personal and social hygiene of your own staff, your guests visiting, and the local towns and the local tourist landings. So that is pretty much how I feel about it.
That's well, quite a point. That's how we get to the next question. Actually, you were getting into how what measures you're taking to mitigate the losses. So,
Right.
what is your take on that? All right.
What you're currently doing to tackle the situation and cancel tours? I believe that question of mine is previously answered with the other questions. Do you want to start, or?
Just in terms of any specifics that you're doing right.
Right. So we're now working with the local authority. I'll tell you about a few projects which we've initiated.
So you have started, okay.
Yeah. So we're building up these tunnels in the local station and the railway station, as in the bus stand and the railway station, which is a disinfectant. So people can walk through it for a couple of seconds and they're disinfected. But see, this is only a preliminary test where, we are sensitizing people. As I told you, campaigning across the tunnel is very essential. People going through the tunnel might consider that it is a magic tunnel where they, like general public with their general plethora of understanding, they'll assume that, okay, so now that I've walked through this, the virus is dead and I could go across anywhere. But they have to understand that if they are a carrier, if it is still going to be inside them, they might affect. They should not touch things and across people when they're walking across in the markets or places. So this is one project which we started, and another flaw in that is we're still using chlorine diluted at 1 to the 100th liter of water, which is still not the right disinfectant for a human body to be sprayed on. But this is the only available method which we started with. So this is one project which we started where we're trying to put up disinfectant tunnels. Putting it up is easy, but operationalizing it is tougher. For the local authorities to approve of it, to have a man like muscle power, operating it through across about 15 to 16 hours a day, and making sure that people going through it or using it are given right kind of self-awareness. So we've started that. That is one such project which we should start replicating across. Several other countries have started it. It was started first time in Tamil Nadu, in Tirupur. So there is the CIIYI, if you've heard of, Confederation of Indian Industries. They have a Young Indians chapter. So the Tirupur chapter has started up this particular initiative, which now they're trying to replicate. I shall share across the SOP and other documents. And there are now manufacturers who are providing you ready-made solutions to get this erected and installed at any destination you require. So I shall share the document with you so that you could share it across in your circles and other hoteliers you're talking with later on, so that they could start replicating
actually
it.
quite interesting. Yeah.
So we're also documenting that process so that it can be replicated and scaled up in other places. It's not, there's nothing being selfless and selfish about here, putting it across our places and making sure it works. Right now is the moment to test any method rigorously, which can be scaled up at a later point of time. So this is one specific solution which we're carrying out. Apart from that, the general, the training programs and organization evolution, all that programs professionally are running across in the company as such. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So that takes to how have you communicated to your employees so far, and are you keeping the whole team on board during this time?
Right. We always have closed communication circuit amongst ourselves. We have not given them an entire BCP or a business continuity plan in written,
Yeah.
saying, listen, this is how it's going to go and how it gets by, and if you're going to get the salaries or not. We are assured that we are going to take rightful care of them in terms of the minimum wages and other things. You've not started any negotiation yet saying we should bring down the salaries or cut down of any sorts. We've communicated them to the limit which is required to their understanding, as in we are sensitizing them to rightfully take care of their own families, take proper care, and we have clearly conveyed about till now 15 until 15th April we are not opening up any bookings or any reservations, but we're still open for business after that. But personally, we anticipate that it might not shoot up again from April 15th. So we slowly initiating it and making sure that people are aware enough of what is required. As in, we have bought in our duty timings, we have closed the night shift, we have changed the work hours. And as the local authorities are guiding us, the locals are given away holiday. We're not forcing them, or we're not making sure that they come to work just because we're going to be paying them beyond a certain point. We're not trying to externate work from them. So they are communicated enough with what is required, yes.
That's great. And in terms of government and tourism authorities, how do you think they can assist right now and even going forward once we're out of this phase?
Right, right. See, the tourism authority as such across different states is usually either highly funded or underfunded. They do not utilize their resources at the grateful will. But the local authorities, as in the district administration, the collector, and other authorities, are fairly working. At least in Tamil Nadu, where I'm having a personal experience, where I'm in touch with a few authorities across Madurai and Rameshwaram, they're carrying out great work, whichever is possible within their own framework. They're doing great work. As I said, they need to start carrying out campaigns about sensitizing, which is happening at their own levels with their own resources. But this needs to become rigorous. They need to understand about involving the community in the rightful ways at this situation. If they do not get people understanding about this, then this panic is not getting over quicker. The quicker people understand that this is a solution which can be handled, it's better. If for example, you remember you must be, were you a part of the experiment where people were asked to light up candles and clap hands across? I'm sure you were. A huge set of bureaucratic workers, advisories, and foreign bodies who were advising for it or against it, and the decision is by the party running the offices. The honest truth is, it was a socio-economic experiment, or a psychological experiment across people. Right, that is the reason behind it. And the accidents which were occurring across, like people coming across to raid together, this was all anticipated by the government. This was all taken into account, but the percentage of that happening is less than a couple of like 4 or 5%. But the 95% of the other lab rats, I would call it, I would consider ourselves to be lab rats across here. We did work, eventually the right way possible. Families came in together for this. They actually had something to talk about and think about, though they didn't understand that this experiment was for a reason. Like lighting ceremonies or light candle, enlightenment and programs were a part of my school when I was back in, 8th grade and 9th grade. We used to do this exercises across. In most of the Christian mission institutions, once there is a graduation program, they have a lighting ceremony where each one of them is holding a candle and carrying out their own prayers. So this is generally to refresh the memories, refresh the thoughts, and create a positive vibe. So it is definitely illogical looking at it in a scientific way in terms of getting the corona rid away, but for ourselves, for our own mental health, it is a very good exercise. Probably if we don't enjoy doing it, we could at least laugh at about it and feel good about ourselves and think we're not doing it and the others. So everyone stands to gain out of it, something or other.
Right.
And we've spoken about a lot of measures, as in things about how we're controlling the organization in terms of how we campaign. But we missed to. I'd like to punch on a point about the mental health here. The National Mental Health Care Association has launched in a toll-free number where you could call in and talk about your anxiety or depression. Most of the people just looking at the news, they are getting anxious about it. They are getting depressed. And we in India, we've always prepared for the worst, but we have never taken care of the current situations. We've never appreciated rightful mental health care. So that is something we also should start working on. We should start working on our own relationships. We should start working with things we have with our families or with our own employees. At the end of the day, that is also a very essential part. I've been personally exercising upon that in my own life. Yes.
That's
Let's not
wonderful,
get carried
actually.
away.
That's definitely a good point to bring up, because yeah, there's definitely a lot of awareness that needs to be created, and I think this is the best time to.
True.
So yeah. So any message you'd like to give to the entire travel community at
Right.
distress?
What message would you give to the travel community these times of distress? My simple message would be to stay calm and to campaign about personal and social hygiene. The other things will definitely fall in place. People who are bleeding money, banks will help, or eventually they can understand that it is not essential of putting up certain services or products out in the market. They can start downsizing it. So we should work on more of campaigning for better mental and social health. We should promote social and personal hygiene. That is my only message. Yes.
That is wonderful. Very well said. So yeah, those were pretty much all my questions. Thank you so much for your time.